This band right here, it's my job to be tapped into the vein of what's going on, wired in, tuned in. When I heard them the first time 6 months ago, I was like, they are electric, they're on fire. Sounds this exciting have not been heard in the South Platte Valley for 65 million years.
Hey out there, Denver music fans, Nick Cicada, your roving reporter, coming in hot for yet another exciting, fantastic, opulent music documentary straight from the heart of the 303. Today's group is one of the best in modern times, Blankslate, hands down, in my opinion anyway, Denver's best rock group. Not counting, of course, the punk or metal scenes. We're talking straight rock and roll here, right from the gut, coming in at you at a beam of 120 kilohertz. I'm talking that straight rock, that classic rock, that hard rock. Blankslate has you covered. Now, obviously, I don't think it's entirely fair to typify Blankslate as simply being classic rock. I think they're also great contemporary rock, but they respect the conventions and ethos of the genre to a T. You take one look at Blankslate during any of their live shows and you go, golly gee, these right here are rock stars. These are people who can carry on the tradition and exciting history of rock into a bold new era. This is where rock is going forward. Blankslate was voted via a radio poll the third best group in Denver, but I honestly think they're the best group. There's like no contest. There's no other band in Denver today making music as phenomenally explosive as Blankslate has been able to put out. Now, you probably remember Blankslate from episode 6 of Asking Interesting Questions, where I asked them some interesting questions.
Nicholas comics are the tops,
as the format of that program in particular goes, but they weren't specifically tailored questions for Blankslate specifically. And I think it's very important to ask Blankslate some very specific questions about their career, because their story is one of the most interesting and captivating I've heard in years. Mind you, the 6th episode of Asking Interesting Questions I do consider hands down to be the best, simply by virtue of Blankslate being in it, because the amount of charisma and presence they bring to any video they're in is just unparalleled. That night, after I had asked them some interesting questions, I listened to their live set. This actually wasn't the first time I had heard them live. The first time I had heard them live was at the Mercury Cafe open mic a couple weeks prior, while they were still in relative obscurity and the radio hadn't picked them up yet. On that night, the only two members of Blankslate to show up were Em Troughton, the vocalist, and Rylee Dunn, the guitarist. Tess Condron, the drummer, hadn't shown up, and she wasn't there, and they were able to perform their songs with remarkable agility, even without a tempo to keep them grounded. And I was like, holy shit, this group can do shit even without their drummer. Of course, I do think Blankslate definitely performs at their peak when Tess is there to go at it on the drum set and wham those cymbals and get that kick drum going. She's a great freaking drummer. I think what makes Blankslate truly remarkable is that all three of the group form this kind of unified trifecta, a nexus point of musical perfection. This is because, as multiple Blankslate puff pieces have said, all three members of Blankslate are from wildly different backgrounds, across the country if you would. Now, typically, I don't like groups that just come into Denver and try and shove their musical stylings down Denver's gullet. But in Blankslate's case, I think that's not what they've done. I think Blankslate have in fact created something extremely unique and specific to Denver. Rather than all being from one place, as is the case with a lot of rock groups in Denver, Blankslate comes from all across the country to merge right here at this specific point. And as a result, I think what they create could best be called Denver rock. You really don't hear anything like what Blankslate puts out in any other city. It's extremely recognizable and distinct, in part, of course, because all three members of Blankslate are from wildly different places, and so you get this synthesis to the music. That's what I think Denver should serve as, ideally, as the crossroads of America, as a sort of connection point, where all different influences get blended together into something distinct and recognizably new, that's not repetitive or derivative of just a certain style from California or New York or the South or the North or whatever. I think Denver music works the best when it's a synthesis of all American styles and tastes, and that's definitely what Blank Slate brings to the table. Of course, a lot of Blank Slate songs are also shaped, generally, by their experiences here in Denver, which I think is very important to mention. Blank Slate has adapted to the Denver scene very well, despite only being formed back in 2018. That's what I think you need to be taken in by the Denver scene as credible and legitimate adaptation, the ability to mold and fit into your surroundings, and Blank Slate does that extremely well. Blank Slate is appealing to the entirety of Denver. There's not a single Denverite I've run into who goes, I don't like Blank Slate, because Blank Slate is the flippin' shazazz. I've gone to see Blank Slate around 5 times this year alone at this point, and every single time they completely blow their crowd away with just how much technical finesse and prowess they've got going on. Blank Slate, as I said, are a group in the classic rock vein. They're the closest thing that Denver has to a Zeppelin or an Aerosmith. That's not, of course, to say that they're a retro act. In fact, their sound is extremely up to the minute, dialed in. Since that initial encounter at the open mic, I've become good pals with Blank Slate. They consider me one of Denver's greatest music journalists.
Nick Cicada is our biggest fan of all time. He is the best.
They've never actually seen me play live, but I've seen them play live like 5 times, or 6 times, or 7 times, and every single time they just get better and better and better exponentially. This year it was announced that Blank Slate is scheduled to play one of the biggest, most impressive concerts in all of Denver, Endless Sunshine, in September at Civic Center Park. I probably won't be going because the tickets to this thing are like $130, and Blank Slate is only going to be one of the bands, and they're not even headlining it, which is extremely unfair given just how much of a great freaking rock band they are and how they should headline absolutely every concert they're hired to perform at. But I don't really mind that I won't be going to Endless Sunshine because all I want to catch is Blank Slate, and I can catch them at any number of venues because, as it happens, lucky for us Denverites, they play here in Denver a heck of a lot. They get a ton of bookings. And it's no surprise, given just how charismatic, exciting, and wild a Blank Slate live show is. They tear down. They absolutely go at it on the instruments, and they don't let up. It's the closest thing you'll ever see to a musical hurricane in your entire flippin' life. Unfortunately, however, and fortunately for all the Californians out there, Blank Slate is going to go on tour pretty soon. Their Summer on Assault Flat tour, during which they'll be heading down to Colorado Springs first, then over to Nevada, Arizona, and California. So, all you Los Angelinos out there, get prepared for Blank Slate's musical awesome sauce. This is unfortunate for Denver, of course, because for a month and a half, we won't have Blank Slate's fantastic music. But, in the meantime, if you just gotta get your goddamn Blank Slate fix, then you can listen to their album Summer on Assault Flat in full here on the internet. It has a criminally low number of views here on YouTube, and probably an equally low number of views on Spotify. So let's get those fucking numbers up. Pop this in. It's one of the greatest rock concept albums since The Wall. I legitimately think that comparison is valid. It's a really, really good album, full of musical gems that are distinct and recognizable from each other and tell a coherent, exciting contemporary story, the likes of which you only see once in a lifetime in rock. Of course, I won't be going on tour anytime soon to Los Angeles or anywhere else, because I'm effectively the Mike Hanlon of Denver, complete with vague haunting memories of a demon clown. But I will be cheering Blank Slate on for my little patch of Coloradan soil as they bring their prowess and expertise to the West Coast. I personally don't have the fortitude to step foot in California. I'd probably suffer a mental breakdown if I did, an existential crisis of massive proportions. But I commend Blank Slate for their bold voyage forward into the larger music industry and getting as much exposure as they possibly flippin' can from the entire country. I think they absolutely 100% deserve that, to be recorded in the annals of rock history. Before they go on tour, however, they're having one final show at the Skylark Lounge here at the end of May, and yours truly has been invited to ask them some interesting questions. This specific concert is prom themed, so everyone who shows up is expected to wear some snazzy attire, and I bought a full outfit just for this occasion. Let's get out of this garb and get into my prom outfit, because I'm about to hit up the town and ask Blank Slate some interesting questions. 3, 2, 1. Hot damn, now we're talking. This is the sort of snazzy attire I want to show up to this exciting Blank Slate event with. Come along with me, dear viewer, as we interview Blank Slate, Denver's greatest rock band. I guarantee this is going to be exciting. Here's the upper story of the Skylark Lounge. It's called the Bobcat Club up here. Wow. I'm really struck in particular just how great the lighting is around here. Not necessarily even inside the main room, but just in this hallway. There's some gorgeous pink lights. It's like something out of Beetlejuice or something, practically. This is the stage here, stage area. Wow, lots of guitars. And the famous Blank Slate drum, there it is. Prom theming here is so cool. I get a little bag of stuff. Rose, stuff in there. Golly gee, ain't this just the peaches. Okay, at long last, after 6 months of build-up, we are here with...
Blank Slate. Blank Slate. Hey!
How do your various backgrounds affect your dynamic and chemistry? Ooh. You got so much chemistry. You got such a dynamic.
I feel like I try to imbue some sort of Northern California folk into our music, however that works, because I'm from Northern California and I love folk music.
Yeah, I mean, the Beatles are why I live and breathe. And they are so sweaty on stage and just so obsessed with each other, at least in the early days. And I like to encapsulate just the pure fucking joy that early Beatles kind of gave off, and I feel like I bring that to the table and you guys respond to it well.
You hope you don't end up like the later Beatles?
No, that's not the plan. I'll stay from 62 to 65.
62
Nice.
to 65, okay.
I would say, in stark contrast, I really grew up listening to watching the Dreamgirls over and over again, and listening to Jennifer Hudson and Whitney Houston and Aretha Franklin and all those people. Really just, I want to figure out how they are able to do so much with their body and their voice at one time.
I definitely hear the Whitney Houston coming through.
Oh my God,
in
what
there.
Blank Slate have denied on many occasions and in their Instagram bio being labeled with the terminology girl band, and I do think that's an important semantic distinction to make. It's pretty interesting if you consider it. For instance, the Bangles, who are all girls, are typically not considered a girl group, whereas the Spice Girls are. Pink Floyd, despite being all guys, is typically not considered a boy band, yet NSYNC is. I think the arbitrary distinctions that people place between bands and boy bands and girl groups is pretty dang interesting if you really give it some thought. The Blankslate, I think, definitely does not fit into the category girl group or girl band and should definitely not be labeled as such. They're a heavy-hitting three-piece rock dynamo that doesn't stop and doesn't miss and hurtles straight ahead at 120 miles per hour straight into the front of your fucking brain. So I can see why Blankslate doesn't exactly enjoy being grouped together as a girl group. I think, especially going forward, in a modern context, the terms girl group and boy band might kind of fall out of fashion. I mean, sure, it's still vaguely around with stuff like the Jonas Brothers getting back together. There's sort of a boy band revival past the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and O-Town and all those one-letter and then a four-letter word type groups. But honestly, I really do think that the music industry is kind of going to move past that eventually, defining groups specifically by what gender a majority of the members are. I do think that's kind of goofy and reductive, and I think it's best to classify a group by what genre they play, specifically.
How does it feel to achieve widespread acclaim and success in a relatively short period of time?
Oh, you think that's where we're at?
Oh my
That's
God.
I think Blank Slate Mania is about to capture the nation. You're gonna
Oh, thank you.
you're gonna
feels,
hold the West Coast.
We've been very fortunate to have a really loving group of people that come and support us in weird corners of the country, which I had never expected in my entire life, and it blows my mind. I love it. It is insane.
We're really lucky, and it doesn't feel real, and it might not be, but maybe one day it will be, and we're getting there. We're on the come up.
Yeah, something's bubbling.
Denver's more receptive than you might give it credit for,
It's fair.
I think you're right.
especially
They
to
don't.
your sound.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
The thing is, though, you wouldn't know that because a lot of Denver is just like standing there and watching. But later, I think they feel it.
Yeah,
but they
two
don't
songs
necessarily.
into it, they get it.
You bring the
Yeah.
action.
Yeah.
You bring the action.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blank Slate often talk in magazine columns and the like about how they get a less than satisfactory treatment from music execs and other figures of authority here in the Denver scene, and I just have to ask, if you treat Blank Slate as anything less than the saviors of modern rock, what the fuck is wrong with you? Give Blank Slate respect because they are single-handedly saving your industry from obscurity. If you're in rock and you don't let Blank Slate play in your venue and you don't pay them exactly what they're entitled, then you're only helping to destroy the genre that they're trying to keep alive. Blank Slate is single-handedly making Denver rock something to be proud of, and to think that anyone would treat them with less than the utmost respect and admiration for their years of hard, dedicated work in the music industry just boggles the mind. I fail to comprehend how anyone could display that level of mean-spirited behavior towards Blank Slate. Blank Slate is solid gold in terms of modern rock.
Do you believe you can substantially improve Denver's rock landscape? And if so, how would you go about that?
Oh my god.
I think just like
I think-
everyone should do the music that comes to them, and I hope that what we can do is like give people a platform, which hopefully we can use to like give people who don't always get a chance a platform, like especially like women and queer people and
Yeah.
people of color. Like we want to make sure that like our shows are like a safe space for like everybody, and that like we are giving people a shot who don't always get a shot, because we have been there too.
Yeah, and like just being your genuine self. I don't know. I mean, like the whole concept of a blank slate, it's like just start anew and do what you actually want to be doing. And then if it works, and I guess.
Yeah.
For real, like we like have gone to like a million camp shows and listened to them our entire lives, and we opened for them on Tuesday. Like if you like are passionate about something and like want to do it, you absolutely can.
I do think that Blank Slate are hands down one of the most important rock groups in Denver today, and whatever they choose to do next beyond Summer on Assault Flat will undoubtedly change the course of rock history, at least here in Denver. They're going to single-handedly mold and shape what rock sounds like in the future, and I think it's very interesting to be right here on the precipice go to a lot of Blank Slate live shows and watch them do that in real time. I'm going to be extremely straight and honest here. A lot of the groups that I encounter as a music journalist here in Denver, I wouldn't really consider rock. They call themselves rock bands, but they don't really sound or look like rock. They're hipster music. They're extremely by the numbers, boring, forgettable, generic sludge that sounds like it was filtered through a tin can at the bottom of the ocean. It's extremely rare, actually, as a music journalist, that I come across a group where I hear them once and I go, holy shit, yes, this is the next thing. That really doesn't happen very often. But in Blank Slate's case, the first time I heard them, at that very first open mic, I was like, yes, this is what Denver needs. This is rock that's high octane and fun and lively and exciting and really cares and really puts in the effort and goes the extra mile. I think as a music journalist, it's very important to give attention to groups like that. Groups that really stand out to me. And as an independent, unbiased music journalist who creates these things purely out of a dedication and passion towards the Denver music scene, I have no obligation to cover all the hundreds of hipster rock bands that crowd the really solid gold like Blank Slate out of the picture. Now that's not to say Blank Slate don't get the amount of respect they deserve. As I've said, they've won numerous accolades and been featured in a lot of press outlets. But they really, really deserve to be considered one of the greatest rock groups of the 2020s, not only here in Denver, but probably nationally. Blank Slate warrants immense respect. They're hands down one of the coolest rock outfits in contemporary memory. Even Weezer, I don't think, is as good as Blank Slate. Blank Slate really makes me optimistic about the future of rock.
What advice would you have for anyone looking to create music with a definitive structure? Because Somewhere on a Salt Flat is one of the best concept albums I've heard. How do you go about such like great storylines to it?
Nick. Okay, so the way that Somewhere on a Salt Flat was done structurally was a lot of like free writing that like wasn't musical. It was just like I literally like at one point did a lot of research on upgrowing in Northern California agriculture in like the 1930s, and then I got really obsessed with that and then like how some of the infrastructure was built. So then I started writing all these short stories about it, and then I started writing some other stuff, and then it all kind of like became a thing, and then like I eventually just like kind of like channeled that into music. So like just like write whatever comes naturally to you, I guess, and like no matter what form that takes, like be open to like whatever form inspiration comes by.
You do notice that it's kind of like there's a wider Blank Slate-averse just beyond the parameters of the album.
You think?
I think.
Well, on our Spotify for artists, it says someone in Tibet is listening.
That's true.
So I believe you.
No, but I feel like there's like a world that the songs exist in, and that like is consistent throughout the song.
It's like an energetic field that you can only tap into when you start.
I feel like rock needs that. And a lot of rock these days kind of misses that, is the structure and the depth. And
I think if you're passionate about something, then that comes across, and
yeah,
for sure.
I think that's what matters the most when like going into a studio or going on stage.
Yeah.
It's like you have to actually care about what you're doing.
That's where you get depth
and then
from.
It works.
Yeah, exactly. It's
I
just,
can
like,
tell there's so
putting,
many
like, your
short
whole
stories and
personhood
stuff.
into it.
Yeah.
Like you can put like a little bit of yourself into something and get a little bit back.
There's so much beyond it.
I cannot stress this enough. If you live in the Denver metro area, you owe it to yourself to head out and listen to a Blank Slate live show. Somewhere on a Salt Flat is a pretty good album. The studio versions, I think, give you a good idea of what they've got in store. But you won't believe your ears when you step into one of their live shows. When you hear Em on the mic and Rylee hammering away at her iconic guitar and Tess back there on the keyboards and drums, because she does both at a lot of shows, you will be completely amazed at just how captivating Blank Slate is as a group. I mean, I tend to enter a sort of fugue state when I hear Die and Run strike up, and I just can't stop my limbs from moving around spastically. I get probably 95% of my exercise just dancing to Blank Slate music. Recently, I was at a Blank Slate live show when they played this song I had never heard before. It was called Blue, and apparently it's not from Summer on a Salt Flat. I was really taken aback by this song because it doesn't sound like anything else in the Blank Slate catalog. It's extremely unique and recognizable and has a really, really cool sound to it that I don't think any other rock band here in Denver would be able to capture adequately. It has a kind of late 60s tinge to it. In fact, I told them the night that they played it that it reminded me of early career Who, maybe post-Pinball Wizard but pre-Bobo O'Reilly. Somewhere around their Boris the Spider era vaguely. That's what it kind of reminds me of in terms of the guitar work that Rylee lays down and the lyric structure that Em brings to the table.
We're gonna do a new song. This song's called Blue. We wrote this on a mountain in Boulder 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's a while ago, but it needed some time.
I kept kicking it around for a while, and here it is.
Yeah!
I miss the dark dreams, they're so electrical. I miss your color schemes, all blue, melancholy. That mystery, every song. It could be every song. I miss your tight, radiant body. I miss your deep blood that you left in the stream. If what they returning was possible, has your way to go. I'm just a vessel, I've no convictions or to save my clear soul. We should be sure that it's still not good and landed, even if I could.
Here's a fun fact. Blank Slate is actually the first group that I ever made a cartoon portrait of in any capacity. They're actually what inspired me to come up with that idea where I give a little autographed cartoon portrait to whoever shows up in any of my videos. And I gave them theirs at the Goosetown Tavern show where they first debuted their full album Summer on a Salt Flat and played every single song from it in sequential order. That was back in October. It's hard to believe that 6 entire months have passed since then, But in those 6 months, Blank Slate has completely transformed the Denver music landscape and rose to prominence as some of the most important figures in the Denver scene today. They pointed this out to me. This is an interesting bit of trivia, but I actually manifested the front of their drum into existence. I had drawn it in the cartoon portrait I made, and then they actually went out and got a drum cover with that logo on it. And prior to that, it didn't exist, which I could swear I did, but I guess that's just a weird misremembrance on my part. I basically brought that drum into existence there. My favorite Blank Slate song from Summer on a Salt Flat has to be Die and Run. The first time I listened to Summer on a Salt Flat in its entirety, I was struck by just how energetic, powerful, and non-stop fun Die and Run was. Oddly enough, though, Blank Slate seems to have considered Die and Run a sort of B-side at the time, and they never even made a music video for it. So I stepped in a couple months back, and I was like, I'm going to make a music video for it. I'm currently animating a music video for them.
That's
about
awesome.
90 frames into a hand-drawn 2D animation. I plan being around 400 frames in all. So, over the last few months, I've been hand-drawing an animated music video for Die and Run with 400 or so frames that's going to be put out sometime during this year, probably once they get back to Denver at the end of this summer. It's my most ambitious animated cartoon project to date, but I really think Blank Slate warrants an animated cartoon music video because the music is so flippin', jubilant, and vibrant and alive with electricity that it just deserves an animated piece to go along with it, to carry them down the corridors of rock. Because honestly, I think the intersection of animation and music is often not talked about, but if you think about the classic music videos that would show up on MTV, a lot of them have really fantastic animation. Nobody would probably remember a song like Take On Me by a-ha if it didn't have that really cool animated music video where the hot guy from the comic book pulls the coffee shop girl into his world and she turns into a comic person too. I don't think Take On Me would be remembered very fondly if it weren't for the music video, because all things considered, that song is pretty generic and boring and forgettable. Another great example, of course, being Pink Floyd's The Wall, and given that I've already compared Pink Floyd's The Wall to Summer on a Salt Flat in terms of them both being great concept albums, I don't really think The Wall would have the cultural staying power it does if it weren't for that fantastic animation of the fat judge and the noodle teacher and the flower lady and all those great, distinguishable, memorable characters from the Wall movie. I just don't think anyone would care that much about it. I mean, they might, to the same extent they care about Dark Side of the Moon or Amagama, but like seriously, The Wall was kicked up a notch by the animations. Those are what everyone stays around to watch, because they're freaking awesome. So in that vein, I think it's only fitting that I create animated cartoon versions of Blank Slate and do a full music video. This is the basic premise that I'm envisioning so far. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but get this, right? All three of Blank Slate are out on a salt flat, and they're singing and going at it and completely wrecking their instruments, just full force, heavy hitting rock thunder, right? Then the Blank Slate Mobile pulls up. And the Blank Slate Mobile is something that doesn't actually exist in reality, much like the Beatles' famous Yellow Submarine. It's this car that's black on the one side and white on the other side, just like the Blank Slate logo, right? And they drive forward and go on a highway adventure, kind of like Thelma and Louise or something. And that's about where my ideas end, but it's going to be a really exciting music video regardless. And I'm so thankful for the opportunity to create an exciting piece of rock memorabilia and history. How I drew them in the comic portrait I gave them is going to influence how they're animated in the Die and Run music video. They'll look about the same, albeit with maybe different costumes and probably, they'll be on a salt flat like I said. But it's going to be really interesting, I guarantee that, so you'll definitely want to stick around for that.
Are you excited for the Dine Run music video?
Yes, we talk about it
Oh my
like
god.
You will be so impressed when you get back here in
Like the one
September.
drawing you gave of us, and I'm just like,
I
oh my god,
know.
when
I'm
they
just like, I can't wait for the
move.
rest of this.
I know.
it's so cool.
For the record,
excited.
what's each of your favorite music videos, classic music videos?
I mean, my favorite band's music videos is OK Go, which is very extreme example of really good music videos, but like something about combining like science and math into that shit is just flawless to me. So I can't pick a favorite, but something within that realm.
I have a favorite music video. Oh my god. I'm so blanking.
Yes, yeah, I have
right
such
now.
an easy answer
This is
to
so embarrassing. I really like the Radiohead music video where they all have like the GoPros on their heads, but they're not actually GoPros because it's like 2004, so they're just like cameras taped to their heads.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just like playing, and it's just like moving around. Like that's like really fun.
Which song is that for?
Is it Jigsaw Falling Into Place?
I think so.
it is.
Okay.
Something on In Rainbows.
Thinking of You by Katy Perry. That music video changed my life in middle school. It's terrible, but
Kate-
you should watch it.
They do have an exorbitant production value. That can be said
Yeah,
about
and I
them.
just like cried. It's sad.
Alright, it's the day after the show, and gosh dang was it interesting in a lot of different ways. For one, and this is a really interesting point, the Skylark Lounge has pretty bad air conditioning. So note to any aspiring musicians who might want to play upstairs in the Skylark Lounge. It's like a box up there. All the windows are closed and the ventilation is pretty bad, which is to be expected because it is a room from the 1920s. But I could tell Blank Slate were really feeling exhausted up on stage, and I was feeling exhausted just up on the front row. So if you play the Skylark Lounge upstairs, the top floor, with the pink lights, be sure and drink lots of water on stage. That's very important. Second, I noticed this about the show. They changed up A Fragile Thing, which is usually the song that they close out on. So it has a more energetic section, and also the chord progression was a little different. The notes Tess played on the keyboard were slightly altered, and I think that was very subtle and a very nice touch, and really added to the novelty of the whole affair. The other really interesting bit about this farewell show was that you could just tell that Blank Slate are in a completely separate phase of their careers than they were when I first ran into them. Blank Slate are no longer in their foundational period, finding their footing. They're now in their fast and furious period, barreling ahead at 120 miles per hour no matter the cost. It's like an action movie. A gosh dang Blank Slate Express, full steam ahead. And that's very interesting as a music journalist to be able to witness firsthand the progression of a given band over the years in real time. That's something you don't really get if you're just a casual observer and you just see a given band once. You know, you don't really see point A to point B, how they evolve, how their sound evolves, how their technique evolves, how their stage presence evolves. But I can say I've definitely seen that with Blank Slate, and this show is very different from the first one I went to. It's different in some pretty cool ways. Like Blank Slate now feels like some kind of electric megaforce that's just going to completely dominate the entire country. Like if California isn't receptive to Blank Slate's sound, that's extremely unlikely. Given that Blank Slate is willing to go on a tour with over 20 venues and 6 states, that's quite the feat of dedication, and you can just feel that Blank Slate is ready to pour out like a gosh dang thundercloud, ready to completely take over the rock landscape. So one can only hope that in the future, Blank Slate will be regarded as the absolute flippin' icons that they are and get the due respect that they warrant.
What impact do you hope to create during your upcoming tour?
Meet some cool people.
Yeah, I just hope people
The
like
gay
us
agenda.
and care about it.
You're on a mission to conquer the nation, become
That's the
rock
goal.
monoliths and legends.
That yeah,
Pretty
you
soon
read
the
my
coun-
diary.
The country will know the names Em Troughton, Tess Condron, and Rylee Dunn. Going to be inscribed in marble next to all the greats.
Well, that would be amazing. I guess that is the long-term
What
goal.
do you think will happen in
Monolith.
California? Do you think California will be receptive to the Blank Slate sound?
Hopefully,
I'll
because
be
like
so
half
sad
of
if
our
not,
songs
my
are
God.
about California.
Break my soul.
I notice you have really like neat synthesis of like all regions.
Yeah.
It helps that we're from both the coasts and everywhere. in
That is like
America.
an extremely unique thing.
Stand.
Yeah.
Unification,
Yeah,
unification,
no, sorry, I don't actually.
No, we're not
universal
from the South.
appeal,
America.
universal appeal.
Yeah.
Except the South, just
Yeah. Exactly.
Denver for sure.
Universal appeal minus Florida and Missouri.
Yeah, we can't go
And
there. We are
Texas.
going to Missouri,
Alabama.
actually.
Okay.
Anyways.
Anywho, here's a little overview of the little gift bag they got for me. One can only assume they'll be doing this next year, so if you want a great show and a great night and a great time out, I highly recommend attending the Blank Slate Prom 2024, or really any Blank Slate concert in Denver. First up, we got the nice little rose here. I've submerged it in some water. It's a very fancy rose, and again, you know, I doubt there are like too many types of rose out there, but it's a nice rose. It's a very, very appealing rose. Okay then, next up, got a little paper box, a little paper box with pink dots on it, or white dots on a pink background, and within a ring pop, one ring pop. Okay, I haven't had one of these in a while. Next up, glow sticks. Glow sticks. I should have gotten some of these out and used it as a bracelet, because I saw that Tess had one of these and I was like, oh, where'd she get these? And it was actually that they were in the bag the whole time, but whatever. Glow sticks are fun no matter the occasion, and I'll put these to good use, or something. Alright, next up we got the, 2 blank slate pins. Holy smokes. I have so many blank slate pins. But as I commented to him, you can never have enough of these. They're free at every Blank Slate show, so if you go to a Blank Slate concert, definitely get a pin. They are really cool pins, and they are worth getting. Like half my pins are Blank Slate pins, and now like 2/3 of my pins are going to be Blank Slate pins. But whatever, add them to my pin collection. I absolutely flippin' will, because these are dope and epic, and they just look so spectacular. These ones have words on them. Wow. Okay, next up we got some Choco bar. Dark chocolate mint and milk chocolate caramel. Both look pretty good. Ghirardelli, nice little candies. Thank you, Blank Slate. Gosh dang. This is a cool looking bag of stuff. Another chocolate, Ghirardelli Intense Dark 60% cacao. And I got a Blank Slate sticker. Wow, this is a new logo. I can't say I've seen this one before. Maybe it's not new. I'm not familiar with it. I really like the color scheme that's going on here. Black on both sides, and then in the middle you get a nice little blue and green type look going on. That's a nice logo. I can't say I've seen the Blank Slate sticker before, but this is a nice sticker, so definitely check this out. Worth getting, worth looking into. Alright, one more thing, a few more things. You got a little tiger, I guess because it was Bobcat Hall, but I think this is a tiger, but whatever, same thing. I didn't actually notice this until the concert was over, but Bobcat Hall actually does have like a taxidermy bobcat up top. That was crazy to see. Just, you know, you look up, you haven't seen it the whole night, you look up, you're like, oh shit, there's a flipping dead animal up there. It's pretty insane. I don't even know what a bobcat looks like. I've never encountered one in the wild. I mean, they do exist here in Colorado, but that was just kind of fucking insane. Okay, next up we got a little jar, a candle. A candle. I love candles. I can't get enough of candles. I light candles like an absolute maniac, and then when I'm done with my candle, I add it to my giant wax ball that I've got. That's kind of a collection of all the souvenir candles I've got over the years, and that kind of give me different memories of stuff, because I always get a candle for every occasion. So here's a candle for this occasion. I think it's green apple, yeah, I think it's green apple scented. It's a really nice candle. It's in a nice little jar. It has the label there on the front, High Street. I'm not sure what that means. I know it's the title of a Blank Slate song, but I'm not sure. Is this a High Street scented candle? Maybe. Maybe this is what High Street smells like. You never know. Anyway, great candle. This is probably my favorite thing in the whole bag. I just love candles. I can't get enough of candles. I know it is. I'm kind of a certified candle freak like that. Okay, last little doodad here. It's a little postcard with the cover of Summer on a Salt Flat on the front. This is some iconic fucking album art, so if it ever comes out on vinyl, I don't often say this because I do prefer cassette, but I think that Summer on a Salt Flat would look really fucking good on vinyl, especially just because, like, this is the type cover that is made for vinyl here. It has that vinyl type aesthetic. You just go, yeah, this looks like a record here. And damn straight, I mean, it's an iconic fucking cover. It's up there with, like, Dark Side of the Moon and shit, you know? Just, like, all three of them in a little circle there and then a big salt flat around them. Gosh dang, that's a cool image. Anyway, the postcard says, Die and Run was written on February 14th, 2019 in our dorm. We didn't include it on our 2020 EP because we were bad at playing it. Lol. That makes sense. Die and Run is one of the most energy-intensive songs on the album. In fact, it's probably the most energy-intensive song. It's practically an aerobics workout. It's really, really intense. Thank you for coming to prom. Thankful that you wanted to ask us interesting questions that one day. Thank you for making Denver music magical. Blank Slate, Emma, Tess, and Rylee. And they draw a little drum set at the bottom. A little drum outfit. And it's really interesting that Die and Run was written all the way back in 2019. It really hasn't aged, but I do argue that Die and Run is my favorite song of theirs, hands down. Oddly enough, when I asked everyone at the concert what their favorite Blank Slate song was, very few of them said Die and Run. The most obvious favorite was A Fragile Thing, which is the song they always close out on. It's kind of poignant and emotional and very deep. And kind of from the gut, you know, but I don't know, something about Die and Run is just like, I can't get enough Die and Run, so I don't know if it's just me or what. Anyway, there's a very nice little postcard here, and it's fantastic to have the autographs of these three absolute titans of rock. And this is the coolest rock autograph. I'm gonna frame this and hang it up. Gosh dang, that's a cool postcard. So, thank you, Blank Slate, for making Denver music magical as well. You make Denver music probably more magical than I'm capable of. I mean, you're practically Denver's greatest rock band, like, hands down.
Speaking as contemporary rock legends and role models for the next wave of ambitious groups, what sort of legacy do you hope Blank Slate leaves behind?
Oh my god.
When I die?
No, just
When I'm alive?
10, 20 years.
Right now, I just hope that our next album is fucking fantastic. That's all I care about at this exact moment in time.
And I hope
Everything else
more
we'll
bands
care
learn
about
to
later.
smile on stage.
That too. That'd be
Because
great.
it's fun. And I don't know why
enjoy
people
yourself.
pretend like it's not.
Smells like peanut butter. I hope that my legacy is very much so one that is essentially
What are you, Michael Scott?
Excuse me?
Sometimes I start a sentence and I have no idea where it's
just like
Yeah, you
I want to be known as eccentric but palatable.
Oh.
I guess I'm speaking about myself.
All right.
No, Blank Slate has that.
Yeah, no, we're essential.
Yeah.
Blank Slate has that
Fuck
going
yeah.
I have
on.
a song about the buzzer.
You gotta remain palatable, but you gotta also be like
Gotta be
whack.
there.
You gotta have those buzzard jams, you know?
Right.
Buzzer jam.
Buzzer jams.
No matter which way you slice it, dice it, chop it, saute it, or fry it, Blank Slate are integral to Denver's future as a musical space. I hope Blank Slate stick around in Denver for years to come and wow us and razzle-dazzle us with their phenomenal artistic output. It really has to be seen to be believed. It's amazing. It's spectacular. These three are completely unlike anything you've ever heard before or since, and they will astonish you with just how great they are in terms of technique, in terms of chord progression, in terms of stage presence, in terms of lighting, in terms of sound, in terms of timbre and caliber. They completely outdo the competition in nearly every regard. They're rock titans.
All right. Any parting thoughts? Any parting thoughts
We
from
love
Blank
you so much.
Slate?
Thank you for all that you do for the Denver music scene.
You are the
You
best
are
pals
absolute
an aspiring
legend.
music journalist
You
could
take care
possibly
of
have.
this city and
I
music
do.
Playing.
I do.
No, I
We
mean,
value you for that.
I remain
Yeah.
here as the grounded acre of this city, and I will be here when you get back.
yes.
Lovely.
And I will
And
have
we'll be
something
back.
Yeah.
spectacular for you. I will have something that
Yay.
need an animated music video
Yes.
to cement your
Thank you.
place in
That's
rock
so
canon, because all the best ones got it. The Wall's got it. You know,
true.
the Wall wouldn't be as good if there wasn't the Noodle Teacher
It's
and
true.
and the
That's a
Flab Judge and all those fun stuff.
No, I mean your talents are invaluable, so thank you. And
Okay.
your support.
Have a wonderful summer.
An animator, so hit him up with their animation.
Give it up for the trio with gusto, the trifecta of perfection, the one band to roll them all, Blank Slate.
That's it for today's insightful little music documentary. Hopefully you learned something interesting about Blank Slate. Hopefully you were educated and informed about the fantastic, exciting, long-storied career of Blank Slate. And hopefully this video has inspired you to listen to some flippin' Blank Slate and listen to their album online and go to one of their live shows. And if you happen to live in Nevada or Arizona or California, seriously, go listen to them this summer. You won't be disappointed. Anywho, that's about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and here's a list of all the places where Blank Slate is going to be playing this summer, just for use as a helpful resource by you, the viewer, so that if Blank Slate is stopping by your town this summer, you can go and give them a listen. I'm not obligated to do this, but as a freelance music journalist, I'd honestly feel like shit if I didn't. June 10th, Lulu's in Colorado Springs. June 11th, Luna Noho in Town, New Mexico. June 12th, El Rey Court in Santa Fe, New Mexico. June 13th, Juno Brewery in Albuquerque, New Mexico. June 15th, The Lost Leaf in Phoenix, Arizona. June 16th, Groundworks in Tucson, Arizona. June 17th, The White House in Mesa, Arizona. June 23rd, Topa Topa Brewing Company in Torrance, California. June 24th, Junior High in Los Angeles, California. June 25th, Trip with an exclamation point in place of the I for some reason in Santa Monica, California. June 27th, Lamella Tavern in San Jose, California. June 28th, The Torch Club in Sacramento, California. June 29th, Shanty Shack Brewing in Santa Cruz, California. June 30th, The Bistro in Hayward, California. July 1st, Freewheel Brewing Company in Redwood City, California. July 2nd, Brick and Mortar Music Hall in San Francisco, California. July 6th, Turn, Turn, Turn in Portland, Oregon. That's a quirky title that I'd expect from Portland. July 7th, Karate Church in Bellingham, Washington. July 8th, Rhythms Coffee in Olympia, Washington. July 10th, Chop Suey in Seattle, Washington. July 12th, The Range Rider in Enterprise, Oregon. July 14th, The Beehive in Salt Lake City, Utah. So if you live in any of those places or near any of those venues, seriously, go listen to Blank Slate and conk your ears out and get tuned on and turned in and tapped in to the sound that Blank Slate is bringing to you. Hear the message of Blank Slate and be forever changed. I sure look forward to seeing Blank Slate back here in Denver in September and hearing all the fantastic transformations they've made to their sound by then. Blank Slate have also informed me that they're working on a sophomoric album. Blue actually isn't an old demo. It's actually a new song that's probably going to be on their second album. So if Blue is any indication of how the new album is going to be, I cannot frickin' count the days fast enough till that thing drops. It's going to be absolutely a landmark in music history. It's just gonna be like a meteor. It's gonna be cataclysmic.
Alright, let me get rock on.
Rock on.
Okay, good luck, Blank Slate.